Is it good for self-study? I'm going to say no, has something that the others don't. There's also a workbook, which is beautiful. Let me show you that as well. It is wonderfully done. I love this. Personally, it's not something that I prefer to do. These are the things that you will use when you interact in your daily life in Turkey. You're blind. Now, answer the following questions about the dialogue. I don't know the grammar point. I can't answer the questions. I think this is very useful because this is the kind of stuff that textbooks don't teach you. Trying to decide what book to use to study Turkish, I am Zeynep and I'm here to help you choose from the most popular Turkish textbooks. We are going to look at vocabulary, content variety, exercise structure and all the good stuff. I have a free 5-day crash course for you. You can find the details for that at the link down in the description. Yeni İstanbul A1 course book, workbook. When I open this book, the first thing that I see is this beautiful deliberate contents page. Subject, reading, grammar, listening, writing and speaking. You can see what kind of grammar you will be focusing on in each unit, and then you can also see what kind of outcomes there are for the unit. For example, in this one, you will be able to introduce yourself to your classmates and you can talk about sections of your house. You can even see what sorts of themes will be covered in the subject and what sorts of vocabulary will be covered in the unit. In this book, you will find a vocabulary list at the end of each unit, and it's beautifully done because you can see it grouped under nouns, verbs, adjectives, if there are any. So you can take the vocabulary list and study it before studying the unit. So you don't have to fiddle with looking up vocabulary whilst also trying to learn grammar. This book teaches you some words that may not be useful at the level of A1. For example, a tulip, lale, a vase, vaso, iron maybe, but like gillette, razor, I'm not really sure if those are useful, and the giraffe. So you will see these sorts of things in this book, some obscure words such as these. But overall, the book has great vocabulary for A1. It's travel related. It's stuff that you can use. Another thing I really like about this book is this günlük ifadeler, daily expressions pages, where you can see daily expressions. So this is good. But I am looking at this and I am an A1 student and I see görüşürüz for see you, 1. Kendine iyi bak, 2. Görüşmek üzere, 3. Hoşça kal, 4. Allah'a ısmarladık, 5. Güle güle, 6. I am a beginner student. I don't know which one is used more commonly. And again, I'm an absolute beginner and there's no way that I can keep all of this in mind. So I think it is a little bit overwhelming, especially at this level. And then we look at this page. It's real nice, like books, students, people, young, school, hardworking, home, month, etc. These are very useful, but sometimes you will see stuff like jealous, right? You can skip these things. It's okay to decide for yourself what you want to take and what you want to leave out. This book has reading, it has writing, it has listening and speaking. So here is listening. There are QR codes. You can scan these and then you can see a video. And I find the conversations and dialogues very useful because they reflect real life situations. And then there's writing. So for example, choose one of these clubs and write about what you do in these clubs. Here's another bit for reading, and then there is a dialogue bit. So you can adapt the dialogues to use in a group setting with your friends if you're studying that way, or if you are studying with a teacher, you can study by doing the speaking activities with your teacher in a one-on-one setting. So this book is very full in terms of content variety. Looking at the overall structure and the exercise structure in this book, I love that it has you practice the vocabulary before going into the unit. I'm a student, I look at this, I do the matching, so I have an idea what sort of things I will see in terms of vocabulary when I go through this section. That is beautiful. And then you know what sort of grammar you will be practicing. But there is something that I don't really like, and it is the fact that I look at this, I've done the vocab, but then I see a reading bit. And then this reading bit has the grammar point that will be introduced later. there. So I, as a student, would like to have the grammar point introduced to me, and then I would like to practice it a little bit, and then I would like to do my reading and then be better able to understand what I'm looking at, because I don't know how to use personal endings. I'm looking at this and maybe I've got an idea, but I don't get a full grasp of it. I'm not getting the full benefit of it. Oh, and then I am supposed to answer questions using the grammar point that wasn't taught. And then I'm introduced to the grammar. This is good. There are many examples. There are questions and there are negatives and positives. There are different personal endings and there is a gap fill controlled exercise. But I think I would like to have these open-ended questions after. Like I can do this bit and I can do all that, and then I can do the open-ended questions much later on because production comes last. Again, there is writing and speaking here again. Well, I guess fair enough. This is more production than this, so that comes last. So you will get exercises at the end of each section, such as what you see here. And then at the end of the unit, there will be a recap of the whole unit, like this. This is short, but like you will have studied the other stuff throughout the unit. And then there's also a workbook, which is beautiful. Let me show you that as well. I just really like this workbook. I'll just show you some pages like this. So it's the same kind of stuff, but in a lot more detail. Like you get more drill type exercises and activities. Is this book good for self-study? I would say the book stays true to level expectations. Apart from vocabulary, it is suitable for a beginner level. It does go at a normal, what I would reckon as normal pace. So let's go to the next book. Yeni, Hitit, A1, A2, course book, workbook. I open this book and the first thing I see is this contents page. It's not as detailed as the Istanbul ones, but I can see the grammar point and I can see what kind of theme will be covered in each unit. And then at the end, there is this dil bilgisi desteği, grammar support. There is no vocabulary list in these books. I think the vocabulary is useful. Unlike the Istanbul books, in these ones you can see some stuff like tomatoes, kiwi, bananas, and stuff that you can use when shopping in Turkey. There is reading, listening, speaking, and writing. Describe your country. And then, how did your holiday go? Where, when, how, which, with whom? So stuff like that. Looking at unit structures and exercises, we see a similar kind of thing where it has you study the vocabulary before diving into the grammar point. It is wonderfully done. I love this. But then I see that it has you do a grammar exercise before it introduces the grammar point. I would much rather do this type of like a gap fill conjugation exercise after having been introduced to the grammar point, which it does here. So you can see there's a chart, and then just like in the other one, there are examples. There's a question, positive, and a negative. But then sometimes you will see stuff like this one here. I've done some stuff, but I'm still an absolute beginner, just getting to know the language. And then this is thrown at me. These are superlative structures, the most. Like, who goes to the cinema the most? So I'm just learning this, right? So I want this isolated, this continuous tense verb conjugation. I don't want to be bothered by this new thing. I want to look at this, and practice these. So you will see stuff like that. There is no answer key in these books, unlike the Istanbul ones. Istanbul ones, at least the workbook has an answer key, and I think also the course book has an answer key, but these ones don't. I can also tell you that there are no grammar explanations in English or any other language. You just have these charts that show you the grammar points like that. And let me show you the workbook as well. The workbook is packed full of activities and exercises to do. It's got a lot of repetitive drill type exercises with lots of positives and negatives like this, and I really like that. And there's like lots of reading, as you can see, matching and all that good stuff. Are these good for self-study? Yes and no. They are good for self-study because they are so full. There's everything, like in terms of exercises and content variety. They don't explain the grammar in English. They just show you a table. So that makes it not very suitable for self-study. And another thing is that, just like the other one, it doesn't always isolate grammar, just like I showed you in the superlatives example, where it just throws that structure at you, where you had only just learned the basics of the language. So I think you would need guidance when studying with these books, because if it's a vocabulary item, then you can just stop and look it up. But if it's a grammar point that's going to confuse you, you're going to have to find what that's all about, and that's not going to be easy. Yedi, İklim A1. Course book, workbook. I open the course book and I see this beautiful contents page. I can see the grammar point of the unit. I can see the theme, the listening focus, reading, speaking, writing. I can see the listening focus in detail. It's going to be hobbies, and then Esra's occupation, and then a photographer at this place. And I can see what sort of things I will be able to write about by the end of this unit, and what sorts of things I will be able to talk about by the end of this unit. Get to know the occupation, talk about what they're doing, talk about locations and stuff like that. Moving on to vocabulary. There is a vocabulary list at the end of these books. It is divided by units, so you can see the vocabulary items that the unit is going to use, so you can study them beforehand. The vocabulary items are not grouped under nouns, adjectives, verbs, etc. You will find this sort of vocabulary in this book. You will find food names a lot. I like that about this one, because those are the things that you may come across if you come to Turkey, and like you'll be able to place an order, understand the menu. In terms of overall structure and exercise structure, there is something that strikes me about these books, and that is the fact that they skip forward. This is the point at which it introduces noun compounds, which in my opinion is something that should be at the higher end of A1 beginner. But like, I've only just learned to talk about like numbers and places and introduce myself, and then I'm learning to make sentences, and then I look at this, I can see conjugated verbs as well as noun compounds. I don't know how to say I am walking to the park just yet, but yet I am expected to say I am walking to the park, and this is my brother, my sister, and this is my school. I think it's a little bit too much. And then just like in the other ones, there is reading before I know anything about what I am reading. I'm not going to understand this without having gone through this entire unit. Maybe they know something that I don't, but personally it's not something that I prefer to do or have my students do. And then I feel like the pages are a little bit empty in these books, but these books are thicker. So maybe the thickness compensates for the fact that the pages are not so full. See, look, I mean, that's just like 6 things that can be squeezed into like this much space, and you can give me a lot more to look at. There is no answer key at the back of either of these books, the workbook and the course book. That's another thing. There are no grammar explanations in this book, and there are no charts either, kind of, as far as I can tell. So this is the first point at which it introduces the continuous tense verb conjugation, and this is the only thing I see, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, sorry, this is the first page. And then prior to that was other stuff, right? But then there is something that the other books don't really have, and something that this book has a little of is multiple choice test exercise at the end of each unit. It is good if you are preparing to enter a university exam to prove your Turkish skills, because that is the sort of thing that you will probably see. I think the Hitit ones also have a little bit of this, but this book has it. But like, there's just 1 page and that's just 10 questions. And I don't think the workbook has it. Yep, doesn't look like it. Nope. Is it good for self-study? I'm going to say no, because there are no grammar explanations. It skips forward. It's not very organized in my opinion. It is a good book to have as a resource though. Although I would like to point out that Yedi, İklim has something that the others don't. It includes the continuous tense, the past tense, and the future tense. So if you are looking to jump forward as a beginner learner, if you're a fast learner, then go ahead and use Yedi, İklim to teach yourself Turkish. In my opinion, Turkish A1 already has a lot, so I don't think it's necessary to have all these tenses in an A1 book, or it is necessary to teach yourself all these tenses if you are just a beginner. I mean, I don't mean like you're just a beginner, but if you're just beginning to learn the language, it is good not to overwhelm yourself so that you have a good grasp of every concept. But if you want a book that has those things as well, then Yedi, İklim has them. Complete Turkish. Are you thinking about how to implement all of these practices in your studies? Or are you maybe confused as to how you can implement these? Well, this video will definitely help you, but you know what? We've got a course for you that will do all of that for you. So you can continue to have a good structure in your studies, but you don't have to worry about doing it yourself. So you can check the details for our course at the link in the description. This is supposed to take you from beginner level to Common European Framework level B2. So this is supposed to be A1 to B2, although I doubt that. Looking at the size of it, also considering that this book, as far as I know, does not include a workbook. I open it and the first thing I see is the contents page. I can see the sorts of sentences that will be taught to me, and I can see the grammar points in English. Moving on is an introduction to the Turkish language. And then at the back, there is stuff about grammar. There's a grammar reference section. I like that. There is a glossary at the end of this book, which has the vocabulary with the English translations. The vocabulary is not grouped by unit or part of speech. You will find the vocabulary that will be used at the beginning of each unit. So this is the dialogue, and then like here is the vocabulary bit, and then this is the unit. I like the type of vocabulary in this book because I think it really focuses on the travel experience or the Turkey as a tourist experience. So there's like sucuk and then bakkal, efendim, ekmek, var mı, please, and all that, like olive. These are the things that you will use when you interact in your daily life in Turkey. So that is a very good aspect of this book in terms of vocabulary. Sometimes you will see stuff like, you're blind. So I'm an absolute beginner. I open this page and it says, you're blind. But I am free to skip those. I don't have to learn every single thing. Look at this page. It's just beautiful. Ayran var mı? Var, 2 tane. Evet, 2 tane. Tamam. 2 döner kebap, 2 ayran. Is there ayran, the yogurt drink, and then like döner kebab. And then look here, like it says chicken, meatballs, döner kebab, grilled lamb slices. You will use these things. Looking at the overall structure and the exercise structure, I open it and I am at the second unit. I am a learner. And what do I see? I see a reading bit, and then now answer the following questions about the dialogue. I don't know the grammar point. I can't answer the questions. You can't expect me to produce what I don't know. And this doesn't only have the grammar point that is yet to be introduced, it also has the noun compounds that I talked about previously when talking about the Yedi İklim book, which is a kind of an advanced like a higher end subject of A1. And this is the second unit ever. I barely know how to say anything. So there is that. I find this book kind of lacking in terms of exercise variety and just content variety in general. So here is the unit. It gives a lot more space to stuff like grammar explanations and harmony. It has good examples, positive, question, but then this is the beginning of the exercise page, and immediately I'm expected to produce using the language. That's just too soon, too fast. Can't have me do that just yet. It should be done at the end. And then that's it. Like that's the exercises that I get. And that's a picture, and that's just numbers. There is, however, an answer key for the exercises at the back. There are dialogues like these. I don't think this book has listening, but look, it has reading only in the form of dialogues. There is not really any like reading passages like texts. As far as I can tell, it's all dialogues, but it's useful. I think dialogues are nice. But sometimes I think it's nice to have just a text for context. So this reading, and it gives you context in English. Ted is an American engineer working on a new project in Turkey. He has flown into Ankara, taking a taxi to his hostel. That can be good, but looking at the book overall, I see too much reliance on English. There is a translation for everything, and that's just going to make you want to look at the translation. I am a student, I look at this, and I get very used to seeing translations, and I cannot progress. Maybe, but maybe I'm smart. Who knows? So there is reading with like aid. in the form of English context. And then there are questions. You can use these for speaking. And here is like, İklim is a businesswoman. She's married to Fikret. And then decide whether the statements made about her are true or false. Okay, good. It's good speaking exercise, but why is it in English? I don't want to say it in English. I am a learner. I'm interested to have as much input as possible in simple terms. And I would like to see the sentence written in Turkish at the level that I can understand. Is it good for self-study? Yes, because it gives you explanations in English and it goes into much more detail in terms of explanations, but it lacks in terms of exercises. And I think it is also lacking in progression because look, it wants to teach me a form that is not really used in the way that the book thinks it is used, before even having taught me how to conjugate simple verbs. So I would say some sort of guidance is absolutely necessary, but this is a good book if you want to understand Turkish grammar and if you are able to get your exercises and your practice elsewhere, and if you also have guidance, like I said, in the form of another course or a teacher or I don't know, like a study group. The Delights of Learning Turkish, Beginner to Intermediate. A self-study course book for learners of Turkish. There's also a workbook, which I don't have. I open this book and the first thing I see is a contents page with the kind of sentences that I will be able to form by the end of each unit and the grammar point explained in English. There is a little language introduction and then at the back there is a grammar index, language point index. Looking at it in terms of vocabulary, there is a Turkish English glossary at the back. And then there's also Turkish idioms, as well as proverbs, as well as a Turkish restaurant menu. And then you can also see the vocabulary items that are to be used throughout the unit at the beginning of a unit, and they are grouped like this. I really like this. They are grouped. There is time expressions. All the time expressions are here. You can see all of them, so it's easy to go through. And then there's another thing that I really like about this one, and that is the fact that it includes daily use expressions. I will find that in just 1 second. See, look here, it has a daily language, and these are the kind of things that we say. And here, nasıl gidiyor, olmaz, olur, olur mu, bir şey değil. I don't think the other books have it in this fashion. I think this is very useful because this is the kind of stuff that textbooks don't teach you. That's a very good thing that they included in terms of vocabulary. In terms of content variety, there are dialogues and then there are reading bits that are not dialogues. So there's reading, there's no listening in this one. There is maybe writing and speaking. I'm saying maybe for those because you will see reading and then it will have you answer some questions about the reading bit. You can use those as speaking activities or writing activities. And then exercise variety and the structure of a unit. Again, just like in the other books, there is reading before anything else, before the grammar point is introduced. There are bits like this where it talks about cultural things, and then at the end of each unit you get exercises. But there is something about the exercises that I would like to point out. Oh, before we get to that, there are good English explanations, grammar explanations of things, and it groups like different things under different groups. Like it shows you different harmony. There's another thing which is great. It is the fact that it shows you word order things. Okay, so there are exercises at the end of each unit. Okay, gap fill, right? Good. Controlled, not much production. And then write the conversations in Turkish. First of all, I'm not a big fan or a fan at all of translation when teaching or learning a language, especially when language pairs like English and Turkish are considered, which are not very compatible. And then I think this is a little bit scattered in fashion because like filling the blanks making negative statements. Production should come last, and I don't know why it's still having me do like gap fill type exercises at the end. Right, and then like conjugations. I want to see production here. Speaking, making your own sentences, writing, etc. And I want to see verb conjugations before anything. There is also an answer key at the back. And like I said, there is also a workbook, but I don't have it. Is it good for self-study? I find the level and the progression of this book a little bit off in terms of it, for example, teaching me intensifiers before it teaches me other useful things that I can actually use at the level that I am at. So I think guidance is necessary in terms of knowing what to study first. And then the other thing that has been the case in all of these books is the fact that there is not much grammar isolation. I will see new, like alien structures in the exercises that I will be doing as a student in this book. I like the focus on everyday topics and themes and conversations. So for that, I think it is a good book, and I think maybe the workbook works fantastically with this. So you can give it a try, it's another popular one. Well, that was a lot. So tell me, do you have any of these books? How has your experience been with these books? If you don't use any of these books, do you study with a course? Do you have a teacher? Are you teaching yourself Turkish? How's it going? You can put all of that in the comments, because I do read all the comments, and commenting on videos and leaving likes are very good ways of showing me and us, the team, that you like the videos, so we know that we can make, and we should make, more of this content. Thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video.